Welcome to the 100 Master Coaches series featuring master coaches from around the world. Let's journey together on this 100 Master Coaches series, with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Wai K was the first Malaysian coach to receive his Master Certified Coach credential from the ICF in 2012. He brings with him over 30 years of leadership experience, with 15 years at senior management level. His key focus is helping leaders and organizations enhance their leadership capabilities through coaching and skills training. As a learning specialist, his clients describe his positivity and patience as his core strength, providing ample space for them to reflect, explore, and discover their strengths and capabilities. Wai K is also an author of 3 leadership and coaching books, including Powerful Performance Coaching Tips and Shift, Masterful Coaching. Now on to the show.
Hello, and welcome to the 100 Master Coaches show. This is Coach Mal, and today my special guest is all the way from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He's none other than Wai K Leong. Welcome to the show, Wai K.
Hi, Mel. Thank you for your invite. Pleasure to be here.
Wow, Wai K, I have followed your journey since, I don't know how long. It's been probably 20 years now. And, you've just grown from strength to strength. And of course, you're one of our wonderful mentors and representative, flying the Malaysian flag really high. So I just wanted to say that as we start.
Thank you, Mel, for your kind words. And yes, from all the support that I'm getting from people like you, the coaches and others, that has kept me going all these years. Yeah.
So, okay, we did a bit of a chat before this call, and we kind of agreed to talk about the Wai K before being a coach. Where would you like to start this conversation today?
Wow. So let me start from the time I was in university. I was actually trained to be a teacher. Actually, that was not my passion. My passion was really in the field of medicine, but my results was not good enough. So
Okay.
second best, I took majored in biology, and then also in mathematics minor, and also an elective in teaching. And during that time, job security was very important. So that's why I took up teaching as an elective. And a long story short, I end up not teaching because when I was sent for industrial training, I discovered that really teaching was not my cup of tea. Well, especially teaching the secondary school students.
Yes.
So I started applying for jobs in the private sector. And I ended up in Intel Penang.
Wow.
Semiconductor. 2 years there, and although I was in the industrial engineering department, my role was actually helping engineers, and we call it indirect labor, people who are not handling those chips, how to measure their productivity and how to be more productive. Then I move on to another American consulting company, also doing the same thing, helping clients to be more productive and stuff. And my third job was with the Hong Leong Group, longest stint.
Okay.
It's a local conglomerate.
Yeah.
And actually, I landed there because our consulting company actually pitched for a job in Hong Leong.
I see.
And they thought that hiring someone from the consulting company would be cheaper than hiring their services. So I joined them, and that was probably where I started my real career, 13 years there. Yeah.
Wow. So you ended up that wonderful 13 years as what role was that, if you don't mind me asking?
So I started joining them as an operations manager in the management company, overseeing all the subsidiaries. And then after 2 years, I was given an opportunity to be promoted as a GM to run a small subsidiary.
Mm,
And that was where my coaching experience actually started.
I see.
Um, I and I knew little about coaching that time. In fact, zero. Um, but it got necessary because 6 months into my job as a GM, two of my department heads resigned.
Okay.
So my managing director called me up and said, "YK, you need to sharpen on your leadership skill. You know,
Okay.
they give me feedback that it's difficult working with you." I was a go-getter. I was pushing people like mad, you know. So at that time, internet was very slow, a dial-up internet, you know, but I managed to connect to this gentleman whom you also
Mm,
know, Thomas Leonard. He's
wow.
the one who actually
Yeah.
started this, yeah.
Yeah.
So at the time, he hasn't found ICF yet, but he was practicing coaching. So I connected with him, you know, and picked up some of the things from his website, you know, communicated through email. And I applied some of those concepts like listening,
Mm,
question, curiosity, and stuff.
yeah.
And I found it's amazing. Just changing from being so directive and so instructive to just listening and changes everything else. So that actually
Mm.
started the journey, 1995.
Okay.
Long, 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 long.
That's quite a long time ago. And next year it will be, wow, it will be 30 years already. So that's a
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful journey. And to be frank with you, I heard of Thomas, obviously, but I've never had the chance to meet him. I had a chance to meet Sir John Whitmore, but not our dear Thomas Leonard. What was that like? Did you get a chance to learn from him at all?
No, I
Okay.
communicated through email, you know,
Yeah.
um, checking with him some of the things that he shared, you know,
Yeah.
what he actually meant by doing that.
Yeah.
And he was very generous. He shared so many things during his time, you know. It's like you would pay, you know,
Yes.
for those kind of knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
Uh, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but more just drop an email and he replied and so
Yeah.
on.
Still so good. And chugging along, at Hong Leong, how did you bump into coaching? Besides connecting to Thomas, what happened after that?
So at that time, that was the introduction of the word coaching to me. And before that, coaching was all about games and sports, you know.
Yes.
And um, and so that stuck with me in terms of the approach. That coaching approach is really less instructive and more of inquiry and an
Yeah.
invitation.
Yes.
Um, and I became I took up formal coaching education in the year 1999.
Wow.
And then I saw the structure. I saw the deeper meaning of what coaching is.
Mm.
Uh, Before that, it was just a technique, all right, use
Yeah.
question. And my questions was really more leading rather than anything else at that time. Um, but yeah, so I got myself educated in coaching by ICA, International Coaching Academy,
Yeah.
and yeah, and become certified in the year 2001.
I note that we are both alumni of ICA.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, and including our dear friend as well, Michael here. So this is a story I often share. I am connected with the greats, YK and Michael through ICA, right? This is how we all started. And boy, oh boy, I'm sure it's been a journey for you as well, learning from our wonderful mentors from ICA. And then, of course, creating your own, starting out. And Yeah, I'm just wondering, Malaysia was a different place in the context of coaching in that year where you graduated, in 2001. Tell us a bit about that state of play where coaching was still very much unknown at that point of time.
Yes. So I actually resigned from my full-time job in the year 2000 uh,
Mm,
and started my business around about 2002 or 3, around that time.
mm,
And yes, you're so right. Coaching is so new. In fact, when I came out, I was just telling my friends I providing coaching services. And of course, and one of the questions my friend asked me was, I never knew you play any games.
yes.
So it was pretty tough at that time because coaching is synonymous to sports. It's
Yeah,
synonymous to, like, they see the sports coaches teaching,
yeah,
giving directions and
yeah,
instructions.
yeah.
Uh, so they associate that with coaching. And then I did a lot of cold calls, and there was this company that I actually approached, a GlaxoSmithKline, GSK.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
there's this gentleman called Kenny. He was a HR director there. Um, and he says, I never knew Malaysia had coaching services,
wow, wow.
And, um, and then we chat a little bit, but we didn't get anything going until a year later. He dropped me a note and said, why are you still offering the coaching services? I said, yes, I am. And he says, we have 14 leaders for you to coach. So
Wow.
that actually started my real coaching business. Uh,
Mm,
and before then, until that first coaching, it was more of training, leadership development, some team
yeah,
build, and I package follow-ups with some coaching, but not
yeah.
really a coaching.
Mm. Hearing that and mirroring that back to, wow, the year 2024 where we're at. And some companies are still walking into that same state right now, right? Like GSK, those many years ago. And yes, training is so synonymous to leadership development and growth. And then coaching often added as a add-on, just like when we go to a fast food joint and we say, you want to have apple pie or ice cream with that? So we add on the coaching. And then there are, of course, different levels of exposure where different companies have already gone through the journey for a while now. And they know, obviously, the value of coaches internally and also externally for their best people. Tell us how that has changed through the years because 20 years flew by just like that, YK. And I'm sure you've experienced some shifts along the way with vis-a-vis, of course, with how customers or clients are perceiving what coaching is.
Yes. In fact, at that time when I started, other than GSK, it's the
Mm,
multinationals that are more
yeah,
informed about support leadership development in this area.
yeah,
Um, so I must say that over the 20 years, we have come a long way, really. I remembered having to educate potential clients on what coaching is and is not.
yeah,
Um, and now it's like they no longer need to know what coaching is. It's like, do you provide the service, and um, yeah, what kind of coaching do you provide?
yeah,
So I would say that from the time I started, probably a 1 to 2% awareness of what coaching is, to
yes.
now, perhaps I would say around about 50, 60%.
Mm,
A
mm,
bigger number
mm.
if you include all the businesses that is in the country.
And just curious, YK, why do you think still there is that percentage, not just in Malaysia, I'm sure in different countries as well, even where I am in Australia, there's this
Mhm.
percentage still that says, yeah, maybe I don't need to invest that much in my people, right? Just send them for those training, team building, rah rah, get them excited, they have to do their job, don't they? Because that's their R&R, right? They're paid for that, right? Why do we need to give extra things like coaching? What do you say for organizations that's still within that 40% of that market?
I would say there are two factors. One is really cost.
Yeah,
If you're looking one-to-one coaching,
yeah.
smaller companies probably thought that with the amount of money that they invest in one person, it's probably more feasible to have a whole group going to training,
It's
right?
true.
So I guess that's probably for the smaller organization, that's one key determinant.
Yeah,
Uh, the other one is really, I think some organizations still feel that if they invest in one person and the person leaves, that's an investment lost.
mm,
Uh, and they don't really understand the value of coaching and why coaching is more powerful than even the modality of training.
yeah,
Um, and so I guess it's a combination of both financial and awareness of
yeah.
what coaching is and is not. Yeah.
Mm. And your involvement with our our family, the ICF, has gone so deep, right? You've been president before, also sat on the global board. Having that vantage point and looking at the trends that is happening globally, right? Of course, in the bigger continents where coaching has been there much longer, what do you see as some of the, well, similarities and then, of course, the differences as well?
Well, similarities, I would say that whatever advanced approaches of coaching, research, and so on,
Yeah,
we are not very far behind.
yeah,
In fact, we are probably very close to the advancement because of technology of internet and stuff.
yeah,
In terms of adoptability, I would say that we are a little bit behind in terms
yeah,
of how coaching is being the awareness that coaching has created in the Western
yeah,
world. And also, I think because uh, of the power of internet and stuff, even the smaller organizations are probably becoming more and more aware of what coaching is, thanks to ICF local chapter Malaysia that's doing great work,
yeah,
um, ICF Global in this region.
yeah,
In fact, I'm going to have a meeting with the chapter leadership in Asia Pacific. All these things are basically gearing and coaching into to be the forefront of people's mouth. The other development is in fact, now they talked about is really what's the impact of AI,
yeah,
in terms of coaching, the coaches, and so on. And the frequent question that any seminar I attend is a question that will AI replace human
please.
coaches?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And my thought is that it won't, although it can provide the basic coaching conversations,
yeah,
it can't actually go into a deeper level of coaching.
yeah,
Um, and I would normally see that AI would probably be a tool that coaches use, because as our client speaks, there are so many signs and signals that's coming out, and
that's true.
AI can pick that up, and maybe
Yeah,
flash computer and say that client could be this and client could be that, and use this stimulus to actually ask
yeah,
some more relevant questions. So
yes,
I,
yes.
I think it's going to complement rather than replace.
Mm. And then the differences that you probably notice as well, what would be some of them, YK?
Not very apparent, I would say, but yet there
Mm,
is. When I when I first got started in way back then, The common question is that, well, we understand why it works in US, but in Asia, more reserved,
Yeah,
expressive. Do you think that coaching modality would work? And that's hence I wrote that book, the Coaching Asian Mindsets.
yeah,
In the sense that while certain values of the Asian community is strong, like respect,
yeah.
sometimes respect taken to the extreme may do disservice to our effectiveness as leaders.
Mm,
Um, and hence the other things about Asian values. But I would say that the world has become smaller. People are more educated, more exposed, more expressive. I sometimes now find that even Asians are even more expressive than the Western counterparts. They will say things without any reservation, and the differences I find is very small in that way. And humans are humans, whether you're Asians or Westerners or whoever. You still have your uh, the values, your needs, and so on, which coaching can address. You know.
yeah. Totally in line with that, and also with your thought on AI that it is to supplement and complement, and actually even sometimes give those insights that we ourselves may not pick up. But obviously, AI is fast improving itself with every iteration. So it's going to be perhaps even one day we'll see YK as an avatar. Maybe
Yes,
it's coming. I don't know. Maybe
soon.
that's your plan.
Yeah.
um, I get questions, often asked, I'm sure you do as well, YK. It's like, oh, we intend to have coaching a lot more in our organization. So we want to now inculcate a coaching culture. That's a big word. Huh? Culture itself is a huge word, right? And then you put coaching in front of the culture, and I'm like, oh, truth be told, it's not a walk in the park, and you're not gonna get there in 1 year. You know what I mean, right? So, what do you say to organizations? And there are organizations, of course, hearing this as well. As many as coaches listen to this podcast, all our wonderful HR talent folks and leaders of organizations who know the power of coaching, desire this culture of coaching to come into the organizations, and yet, through our experience, we know that because of certain reasons, sometimes internal, sometimes external, the desire of that coaching culture sometimes takes a little too long than they expected. So, what do you say with that, YK?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Mel. Building a coaching culture is like a buzzword now, especially those who have just got enlightened with the coaching is and wowed with it, and they go back to the organization and say that we
Yeah,
need this culture.
yeah,
Um, so when they invite actually myself and my team to um, do some discussion, right,
yeah,
to build a culture, the first question
yeah,
I ask them is that, so that's a very noble kind of
yeah,
initiative.
yeah,
And may I know who will be involved in the first, process? And they say
yeah.
our senior managers. And I said, senior managers would be who? You know, and they say our heads and the people in the organization. And I say, where does your CEO and your VP and your president sits? In
Yeah,
this, we will enroll them in
enroll them late.
later. So I say that if you do that, uh,
Mm,
chances are, the investment will not be so effective because
right,
the style of the CEO, in my opinion, the style of the president dictates the culture indirectly,
very
even though
true.
you have a written value system of what the organization believes. It is
Yeah,
the style and their own personal values that drives the organization. So, and there are a few organizations that we had successfully built a coaching culture, among them Fitness First, which I'm proud to share. They started at the CEO level. Yeah.
wow.
the CEO and his direct reports. We did a 2-day program, and then we certified all the direct reports plus the CEO. And that was really a success. When you go there, you can actually see them speak and breathe coaching in their conversations.
So good.
Um, yeah, so it's so true that building a coaching culture, it's a long journey, but that long journey can be even longer if the CEO is not involved.
Mm. And so obviously we've heard of, oh, we need to enlist champions. We need to enlist influencers, not just leaders. I mean, leaders are fantastic. And then we've got the different layers and levels of the organizations. So it doesn't really sound or look like a top down, another one of those top down pushes. Let's do this now, from Blue Ocean strategy of those days, if you remember, right? To change management, who moved my cheese, of course, to agility and so on and so forth, right? And then this new thing now, okay, so coaching, let's do this now. I I know I kind of feel a little for the people on the ground, they're like, this is the fifth iteration of uh, empowering culture that you're trying to push onto us. And I'm just wondering, like, hey, in your experience, in your exposure with so many companies, right? What about also a bottom-up approach? Have you seen companies where also that the bottom-up also gets so involved in it so that it meets the top, in some place, sometime over the across the years? I'm not sure. I'm just throwing it out to you and wanting to hear, your experience on that.
Well, honestly, I've not
Yeah.
seen an
Okay.
initiative like from the bottoms up,
Okay. Yeah.
because at the end of the day, when we work in an organization, we tend to dance to the tune of our leaders.
Mm.
Be the leader, be the department heads or your section head,
Yeah.
and no matter how excited the bottom level is after going through a program,
Yeah.
faced with a leadership style of a leader that is directive, instructive, and don't listen as much, very
Yeah.
soon they fall into that kind of mode of operation.
Good point. I will continue to explore that, and I'll keep you in taps with that
Yes.
one. Okay.
Let me know if there are successes which I have probably overlooked in terms of how this can be
Uh,
done.
there is so much to learn. I'm sure you agree with me, right? So much to learn out there, and from so many wonderful coaches that have gone before us and are also doing great things in the world, right? And then, of course, I'm sure you've also heard that organizations are wanting to invest in internal bench strength, I call it, right? So that they have internal coaches to drive that culture, as much as they also need external coaches, because sometimes there is this bit of that biases that come about internally in organizations where they're like, I'm not going to talk to you internally because you may just turn around to tell things about me. So there's all of that. I'm not saying that that's just one example, right? What do you think, right, is that meeting point, right? That external coming in and then the internal rising up. And is there a meeting point where we've got to kind of have that equilibrium to make that a true success?
You're absolutely right in the sense that why do senior leaders engage external coaches rather than internal coaches, even though the internal coaches are well trained and certified?
Yeah,
Because
that's
of
right.
confidentiality, sometimes there are things in which the senior leaders feel more comfortable sharing with an external coach.
Sure.
Uh, will it come a time where organizations who have trained internal competent coaches serve the needs of all their leaders in the organization? Um, I would probably say that it will not be completely as neutral as an external coach because they still have their leadership hats to wear.
Yeah,
They have KPIs to be measured upon, you
yeah,
know, and they have to some extent some vested interest in the whole process.
yeah,
So I would say that more and more leaders will probably use internal coaching services, but there will still be some selected leaders who will still opt for an external coach.
yeah. And that's what we see all across, right? Initially, I guess it's the worry of some who says, wow, we're training so many internal, wonderful leaders already. Perhaps they don't need us anymore, external, but it still happens, and there's still that call, there's still that need, and there's still that growth, as you say, rightfully, on the percentage of awareness and acceptance of coaching in the workplace. Yeah. Um, I'm thinking about the younger coaches now, okay? Not the ones like us who've been there for about 20 years or more, right?
Yeah, a picture on
And
the
and
wall.
I hope not. I hope we're still keeping ourselves relevant, which I know we are, right? We are humbly wanting to learn and grow and all of that. And then there is this wonderful group, right? I often say this, right? We've got to have that generation coaching their generation as well. You know what I mean? It's like that rising up of that young generation, the younger leaders, and they're upskilling themselves. And a lot of them are also upskilling themselves to become coaches. Whether they're doing it full time, whether doing it, part time, and they're working as well. I see this as that growing trend. Now, I've been asked quite a few times, there's just too many coaches now, YK. How do we market ourselves now? How do we put ourselves out there that people will notice us and buy our services, get us to become their coaches, right? It's difficult, it's too difficult. What do you say to that, YK?
Yes, that's so true, especially when you want to build a business in coaching. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say that of all the people who have been trained as coaches, all right, I would probably say that probably 20% or less intend to build a business out of it. Um, 80% of those who pick up
yeah,
coaching wants to use it to complement what they do, in the conversations, in leading teams,
yeah.
and so will it come a time where there are just so many coaches who wants to build it as a business and the question is how do you stand out in a sea of coaches?
Yes.
um, I would say that you will still be able to market your service, but it would become like a commodity. When there are so many people chasing each other to offer the service, price becomes a determinant. But then again, that's for the masses. For
Yeah.
those coaches who are really good, all right, and who makes a wow factor to clients, they get referrals and they can charge a premium. So I would say that what will distinguish successful coaches from the rest is really how effective you are over time.
Mm, mm,
Um, there are coaches who offer coaching services and the clients is not delighted, and you have to market your services, do all the hard work to bring in one, and you lose one in the end. Whereas coaches who sharpen their competencies and become really good, they bring in one, the one becomes two, the two becomes four, and so on.
yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
really,
true.
don't worry too much about the number of coaches coming into the market. Worry about sharpening your competencies and
That's
yourself.
so good. I love that. That's captured in this episode as well with you, YK. That's just so much that you have given to our industry, to our family, and there's so much more, I'm sure. Where do you see that future 10 years ahead for you, YK?
For me, as a person, as a business,
Maybe for you as a business owner, since we're talking a little
Mhm.
bit about the
Yes.
entrepreneurship.
So what I've been doing right now is that I am building so-called successes, people who can actually deliver my the program that I've developed,
Yeah,
people who can really support my clients.
yeah.
And ultimately, I hope to play more golf.
That's so good.
Yes, my golfing buddies are already giving me ultimatum. Hey, for the last 3 weeks you've not been playing, we'll throw you out of the group. Yes, I will still see myself involved in coaching, but not really in terms of delivering actively, but more supporting, guiding those who
Mm,
to deliver the program that I've developed. Because I
mm,
see that my the limitation that if I continue doing this will be me. Yeah.
mm.
So I'm trying over the last 3 to 5 years to have people. And
Yeah.
recently, one of our workshops, a 2-day workshop, happy to say that two of my facilitators delivered it successfully, good ratings.
Oh wow.
They're sitting behind and enjoying the scene. Yeah.
You must be so proud, like a father watching and cheering them on as well.
Yes, I was really
Well done.
impressed. Yeah.
Well, IK, we're almost coming to the end of our time together just for today. Any wishes that you have, like it's like a if I said you had a magic wand, you know the miracle question in coaching, right? If you had a magic wand, what would you wish for coaching?
I wish that coaching educators don't overemphasize that coaching is all about questions.
Tell us more.
So coaching has become so popular now that when I do a training program and the first thing I ask them is that who have learned some coaching or know what coaching is, and probably 80% of them put up their hands, and I say, so what is coaching? Asking questions. Um, and when a coach walks away thinking that coaching is
Mm,
all about asking questions, they are only 30% effective.
yeah,
And so I hope and I wish that over time, coaching educators would begin to de-emphasize questions
yeah,
as coaching, and emphasize more in terms of listening,
mm,
and the importance of sharing observations, which is equally important. Yeah, and all those other stuff other than questions. And of course, questions still will remain, but not overemphasize them.
yeah. Totally agree, YK. And that's why in our program, we teach coaching models in module 18 until they get so used to understanding even the competencies, right? The important competency, the 8 competencies, and realize they can actually coach even without a model. Hence, questions in that sense. Yeah. So yeah, so beautiful. Any last words for our viewers who are obviously coaches who are coming up in their profession, as well as leaders in organization coming in and saying, I need to skill up and do more coaching with my people. Any last words, YK?
So I would probably say that don't embrace coaching because you want to pick up a tool. See coaching as a means to elevate your own operating system and become
Wow.
a better human being.
Mic drop. Thank you, YK, so much for your time as well as for your contribution to what you bring into coaching as a profession, as an industry, and as a family. Thank you so much for your years of giving and sharing.
Thank you, Mel, too, for inviting me in this podcast.
You're most welcome. This has been the 100 Master Coaches show today with YK and myself, Mel. Till the next time, remember what YK says. It's not about just the questions. It's a lot more. So go out there, explore, be curious, and enjoy the journey ahead. Till then, take care. God bless. Bye.
Bye.
You have been watching the 100 Master Coaches series with your host, Coach Mel, MCC. Brought to you by Catalyst Coach. www.catalystcoach.live. We will be right back with our next Master Coach on the 100 Master Coaches series.